The writer says, I've had trouble managing my family's finances, and I know there's something I'm missing, as my income of $85,000 a year should be plenty for us to be comfortably saving for our future. It seems at the end of each month, we only have a few $100s left. We have relatively low debt. We just seem to always find a way to spend more than we have, or often an emergency will pop up. And so what he's asking here in the letter, is there a way that he can just change his thinking or adjust his thinking so that he manages this better? And so my answer goes like this. The ways all of us, that we think about family finance are largely influenced by the culture around us. And so are the ways we spend time with our families. We learn from the culture what they do, and we tend to copy that. And the ways we think about the future. So if you say you're saving for the future, well, what kind of a future? It will be the kind of future you think other people are thinking about and talking about. And so what I need to say here is, if you're an American, you're really at a big disadvantage in building a responsible mindset when it comes to wealth, all kinds of planning, even thinking about the future. Because American thinking is so upside down. We think that children are a curse and debt is a blessing. That's backward. We think the economy will get continually better, even though we're living and our government is living so irresponsibly. We think the value of the American dollar will continue going up. And this completely unrealistic thinking is one reason Americans are in so much personal debt and have such a poor track record of disciplined saving and planning. Our challenge comes from our culture of epic materialism. It's total materialism. We consume more than we produce, and we think that that can somehow make a stronger economy. Our culture of mammon has trained us to believe that we must maintain a lifestyle of consumption equal to or greater than that of the Joneses down the street, and their lifestyle of consumption. And so our mindset is dialed in to continual competing and coveting and shopping and buying and living beyond our means to acquire things we can't afford to impress people we don't like. And this is the hardest habit to break when we're fighting for financial freedom. The fear of man has enslaved us. We fear what others will think of us if we don't have the bare minimum of stuff that our society expects us to have and to own. And if we fall short in their eyes, we're sure that people are looking down on us as somehow antisocial or deadbeat losers or uncool. And so it is this ingrained way of thinking that we must break away from, because it's a form of mental and practical slavery. It can lead us into deep, permanent debt slavery, and the effects of it can be passed on to our children, just in the ways that we think, but even in the debt burden that we might even hand down to them. And so to break free from this, we cannot care what other people think of us when we start living differently and when we start living wisely. So here's what I recommend, real quick, in simple terms of recategorizing your thinking. First thing you need to do is prioritize what you really need in the way of wealth. And to do this, you'll have to define what wealth is and what success is. And you'll have to stop shopping for the fake stuff that you don't need and determine what it is you do immediately need. And at this point in history, I'm not simply saying just downshift and live a more simple life in a comfortable American city. I'm not saying that. I'm saying something which will require a lot more maturity and discipline on your part. We're at a time in history that's unique. It's not your grandparents' day, and it's not your parents' day. This is a unique time in history when you must completely reprioritize how you are living. And it will be an expensive readjustment, because there will be things that you need to buy that you don't have. You need to buy wealth, you need to buy security, and you need to buy it right now. And better 7 months too early than 7 hours too late, because we're living in a very fragile moment of history. We are truly wealthy, and this is what you want to get to, a place of true wealth, when you have a place of safety and security to live in, either right now or in the very near future. And it's got to be well outside dangerous cities. And it's got to be stocked with the vital, life-giving kind of wealth which will be priceless in the months to come. And I'm talking about water and firewood and tools and real friends, real neighbors, and real family who can help us flourish into the future. Now, I'm not saying, and please get me on this, I'm not saying that the new American dream is life in the country. I'm saying that the only sustainable food security and law and order may be outside the cities in the very near future. That's what I'm saying. Now, to obtain this new way of thinking and this new portfolio of wealth, real wealth, true wealth, most of us need to start selling everything we can sell. We need to direct those dollars into those new priority goals. See, this is an expensive readjustment. I wish I could just say to you, just live more simply, and you'll be able to get by just fine. And your job will continue forever into the future, and you'll always have a paycheck, and everything will be fine, and you'll be out of debt, and you'll be happy. That's not what I'm saying. You may lose your job. You may lose the security of wherever it is you are in an urban area. And so, if your resources are limited, you might have to be really creative and take many of these to make any of these things happen. Now, if you're working a full-time job in the city, you've got to be using your weekends now to find a place. And if you cannot afford a place in the country, okay, please don't just give up on this plan that you know you must pursue and just say, well, there's no way I can do it, so I guess I'll just have to continue living where I am, doing what I'm doing, and trying to just do a little bit better every month. I'd like to say, please keep looking. Now, possibly you could make an arrangement with a farmer, and you might have to just knock on his door and ask him. A farmer who would love to have you and your family living on his farm, being a really good neighbor to him and a possible source of security for him in exchange for what he might give you. He might give you an acre or two that you could develop on your own and have and build with your family a sustainable paradise in a place outside the city. So the point I'm making here is that the paradise of the American dream in the American suburbs from 30, 40, 50 years ago did not work out. It didn't work out well for the last 3 generations of Americans. They went into debt for it, which trapped them in many ways and never bought them happiness. And I'm sure you know families like that. Our government went into debt, and all the mistakes of the 20th century and the year 2020 have to be paid for by somebody, and it's fallen on us. It has to all be paid for now by us. And are we ready to get by without many of the services that we take for granted? That may be what it really comes down to. Some analysts are now saying, and I respect these men, they're saying that life in the United States will be so difficult, it is now time to completely leave the country if you want to simply be able to survive with your families. Now, I am saying something different. I'm saying that I think secure rural communities in the United States may actually do better than any other place in the world over the next 20 years. But you need to become part of that world sooner rather than later, those secure rural communities. I'm Geoffrey Botkin. Keep your questions coming here to questions@geoffreybotkin.com. I want to hear from you, and I'll try to answer the ones that I can get to. Thank you very much.